Hello, everybody. Welcome to Film Family. Today, we're going to be reviewing The Mandalorian, Chapter 5, The Gunslinger. So as last episode, he moved from that planet, forgot the name of it, but he's brought Yiddle, Baby Yoda, with him. He's now safe trying to look for some port. This episode opens up with this big space battle. It's not a big space battle. What am I saying? It's a little space skirmish.
Yeah.
His ship gets damaged, and he needs to repair it. And he decides to get the port on this planet and fix it. And he needs some money to fix it. And he has to go get a bounty, and stuff happens.
Mm-hmm. It's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought this was a pretty good episode. I don't know how I feel about it in relation to the other ones. It felt like the most uneventful episode for me, which a lot of people have said about episode 2. But I don't know. Something about this episode was just sort of happening to me and then sort of just ended. But I liked it. I loved being on Tatooine again because it's Tatooine. It's such an iconic Star Wars location. And that does confirm that the other planet wasn't Tatooine. I forgot the name of it. They said it in this episode. But it was cool to see the Dune Sea and, all the planets, or all the, sand and the Tusken Raiders and whatnot. And it was just cool to see Tatooine again. But I thought that the episode as a whole was kind of just all right for me.
I unfortunately agree with you. This was an episode that was probably one of my least favorites, but I'm loving this series so much that that's not saying much in a way. I mean, my least favorite it's still a good episode. It's just in terms of comparing it to other things, but I don't think every episode can always be great in that way. And it was just, it filled in certain things and it was needed and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, thinking back, because on the drive here, I was like, okay, what happened in this episode? I didn't think about it. And I was like, oh no, that was episode 4. And then I was like, okay, so what really happened? But then,
Yeah, I think in episode 6 through 8, they need to get out of this formula of, Yoda's in danger. Put him here, protect him, some people happens, he eventually gets caught, Mandalorian saves him, onto the next planet. I think they need to put themselves a little more into a grounded place and kind of make a little more of a narrative structure to it instead of kind of just repeating the plot line. But I enjoyed this film. I did because I don't think I've ever seen a sequence in Star Wars quite like the one where they were doing the flashing with the sniper. Cool. Yeah. That was a lot more of a patience and kind of testing and calculation action sequence. A lot of times Star Wars is kind of just conflict. There's not as much tension or waiting, which is something I enjoyed about this, especially because they sort of show that sniping is kind of different than just shooting regular lasers in Star Wars, similar to the real world. But I did like just the way that the sniper, I'm forgetting everybody's name, but the way that she kind of needed to calculate and they were throwing up these lights to, throw her off. And I liked the other bounty hunter in this episode. I definitely think some people are not going to like him because as an actor, I thought he was fine. He wasn't incredible. But something about him I think was kind of charismatic. I enjoyed just seeing him. And he was young. He was down, on his luck, trying to get into the guild, definitely trying to earn that payday. But he had sort of that kind of uneasiness and sort of that thing that you can't trust. Sort of what like Han Solo had at like the beginning of A New Hope, where it's like, what's going on with this guy? And then at the end, of course, he's persuaded to betray Mando and do his thing. And I think that he was a solid and necessary part of this episode. The episode as a whole would have been less interesting if he wasn't in it.
Oh, 100%, 100%. This episode for me was interesting. I definitely, I was just thinking, it seems like Mando, he's great at shooting, but he gets his butt kicked on hand-to-hand a lot, or just in general, he's not the most effective in that way.
Yeah, maybe that's a good thing though. Again,
I liked it in the beginning
with just unlimited abilities.
Yeah, no, I liked it in the beginning, but now I'm thinking he needs that armor. Like he really does.
He got shot
a couple times.
If he didn't have like that Beskar, I mean, those are sniper rifles to your chest.
Yeah, he's not the most, like that. I was not used to that.
There's a Clone Wars episode where one of the characters gets sniped. If you've seen it, you probably know it. And he's like out for the whole episode. He's done, And he's done. He's a clone trooper, and Mando's taking it like nothing. He's taking these sniper
been shot
shots
a lot.
So he better be grateful for that Beskar because he's clearly not the best at his job.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We're definitely following someone that's not top of the top.
Exactly. And we've seen top tier bounty hunters in Star Wars, and he is definitely clearly talented, better than the average bounty hunter, but he also has his struggles, and I enjoy that about him.
Yeah.
Especially because if they plan to do the show for multiple seasons, they have to figure out what they want to do with him from a physical, perspective, how he's going to progress with his abilities and equipment and whatnot. And I think that Mando in this episode shows some of his intelligence, because I think that's something I really liked with every new action sequence. He's shown that he's not just a good fighter, which he is, but he's a good thinker, and that's what's really qualified him into the Mandalorians. It's his ability to assess a situation and then make a solution that seems easy for him, but also plausible, not just something where it's like, well, we're just going to have, I'm going to blow up this thing and shoot you and then go through all these villains and stuff. It's something where you always see a difficulty he has with succeeding, but it's something where he's able to do because he's thought it out. And that's the mark of a good warrior and bounty hunter in Star Wars.
Yeah. I definitely also think that he's realized the power of bringing someone along, because in the beginning he was like, he didn't want to take anyone with him. It's like, this is a solo project. Now he's realizing, I could use some help here and there, and so. And
even at the end too, like when he distracted the guy, it's just a big part of him assessing the situation. And I love when any action character can kind of stand around, see everything they have, and then say, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then we're done. And I enjoy that about the Mandalorian. He's cool that way. And hopefully, we'll get to see him fight some heavier competition.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's just fought in goons and whatnot.
So you're still enjoying this?
Yeah, it's really solid. Dave Filoni wrote and directed this episode. Dave Filoni is like Star Wars god to me. I love that guy, and I really like seeing him back in the Star Wars. I hope
Me too.
He gets his own project, the higher budget one of these days, whether it be animated or live action. Hopefully it could be Old Republic. But whatever it is, I'll watch it because the dude's just super talented. He knows Star Wars so well, and he has such a passion for it. And he does a really solid job. This is an episode that does rely on its talking. It's not as character developy as the last episode. It's more him just assessing. It's really an episode that has three main points. Gets to the planet, meets the guy, waits it out, and then there's kind of an epilogue, which is defeating him. But that kind of, I think, ties directly into the third one because of the fact that it all kind of happens in this one sequence of him catching the bounty hunter, betraying Mando having to go find him, and the episode kind of ends. And then we should talk about the big thing at the end of this episode.
I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that.
Who is it? Is it Boba Fett? And if it is, I'm not going to be mad at it. And that's something I've matured into. Because when I was younger,
yes, I know.
I remember there was the idea for the Josh Trank Boba Fett movie back in like 2017 or 18, back when they had all these setups, kind of setting up. And these spin-offs, some of them really angered me. And I don't like Solo, which is one half of the spin-offs they've done, the other one being Rogue One. This Boba Fett idea, however, is something that I've grown to enjoy because of the fact that if I can accept Darth Maul being brought back from being literally cut in half by a lightsaber, the most powerful weapon in the Star Wars galaxy, besides like the Death Star and stuff. Oh man.
Yeah,
then I
got all riled up about Star Wars.
Then I can accept Boba Fett escaping from something that he never got chewed up in. Because technically if he falls into the Sarlacc pit, blows it up, and never actually gets chewed and there's no teeth touching him, what would kill him?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to die by just being inside of something. It's like, you're not going to, it makes sense to me. And if they do bring Boba Fett back and they don't do it in a lame way, I'm okay with that because there's so many people, because there's two camps. There's people who like love Boba Fett, and there's people who are like, Boba Fett's not even decent. He sucks because he just didn't do anything in the movies. And, he got chewed up by, whatever, and he got beaten by blind Han Solo. And it's true, he kind of sucks in the movies. But there's like a whole expanded, storyline for Boba Fett in the comics, and he's in the Clone Wars as well. I'm kind of in the middle because I don't love Boba Fett nearly as much as other people. Definitely more of a Cad Bane guy because of the Clone Wars. But Boba Fett can definitely be expanded upon by the Mandalorian and shown to a wider audience some of the cooler things that he's capable of. So I'm a supporter of bringing back Boba Fett. But if it's not Boba Fett, I'm fine with that too. Just make it a good character, whoever it is.
Exactly.
If it's something crazy, that would be, like somebody we didn't expect at all. Yeah. That'd be interesting.
No, I'm interested what they do. We were talking about this earlier. I just love Star Wars. So I'm hoping, this series has been a great series so far, and I'm just hoping they continue it.
Yeah, Episode 7 for Mandalorian will come out the same day as Rise of Skywalker.
Ooh, does it?
So I just realized that it's going to be sort of awkward because we're probably going to be doing a couple things on Rise of Skywalker, and then just going to have to talk about the season finale.
Yeah.
So hopefully episode 7 isn't, something with too much stuff in it. Maybe hopefully 6 will have more in it because that weekend will be more of a Rise of Skywalker thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you saw this episode, let us know what you thought of it. Do you think that's Boba Fett or somebody else? What do you rank it amongst the other episodes? Again, I don't really have a rating for this episode. It's probably like an 8 for me.
Okay.
I think that's kind of fair. The lady was a little bit annoying at the beginning.
Oh, she didn't bother me at all.
She didn't bother you?
No.
She was a little annoying for me. She wasn't bad, but she was kind of corny almost. And some of the music was a little corny too.
Yeah.
It felt almost like a babysitting type thing.
Okay, yeah. I get it.
I was cool with it. And again, Baby Yoda, what is he not cute? And yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Let us know what you thought of this episode. Like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.